Good morning, I'm Paolo del Rosario. Welcome to Weather HQ. Today's headlines. Cool weather is expected with the onset of the northeast monsoon. In the United Kingdom, a yellow warning is raised due to intense snowfall. And back here at home, we'll tackle the action plan to ensure the conservation of wetlands. Before we head on to our weather, first our breaking news this morning. President Marcos says Mary Jane Veloso is coming home. Veloso is on death row for drug trafficking charges. The president thanked Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto for his goodwill, reflecting both countries' commitment to justice and compassion. We'll give you more details as soon as they become available. Let's take a look at the local weather. Pag-asa has officially announced the onset of the northeast monsoon in the country. Currently, there are still three weather systems that affect the country. First is the northeast monsoon, the air coming from the north that brings the cool weather and light rains into the extreme northern portion. There is the monsoon we were talking about. It brings cool weather and light rains into the extreme northern Luzon, particularly in Batanes. Now, second is what I referred to a while ago, is the easterlies, or the winds coming from the east that bring warm and humid air and also localized thunderstorms within these areas. Now, thunderstorms in the eastern part of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao are due to the easterlies. Now, due to the easterlies, the rest of Cagayan Valley, Aurora, Quezon, Bicol region, eastern Visayas, Caraga, and Davao region will have partly cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Lastly is the shear line. This one right over here. This is where there are warm and cold air. This is where the warm and cold air will meet, and that will also bring cloudy skies and scattered rains and thunderstorms, particularly in the Babuyan Islands. Now, because of this, we have to take a look at our sea conditions. A gale warning's up in the seaboard of Batanes and Babuyan Islands due to the surge of the northeast monsoon, the extreme northern Luzon. Now, these areas will experience very rough sea conditions with wave heights of up to 4.5 meters. Now, these are all possible in the coastal waters, so seafarers in these areas are advised not to venture out to sea. Now, let's take a look at the expected weather conditions throughout the entirety of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Starting off first in Luzon, hot and humid weather will continue in Lawag, in Tuguegarao, in Metro Manila, Puerto Princesa, and Legazpi. But always be prepared for there are chances that there will be isolated rain showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon or evening. And as usual, we like going to Baguio because Baguio will have generally fair weather. And take a look at the temperature here. A low of 16 degrees Celsius and a high of 25 degrees. That's in sharp contrast to the low of 24 degrees of Metro Manila and 33 degrees the high over there. Let's now move on to Visayas, where you can have partly cloudy skies, so chances of isolated rain showers expected all throughout the region. Make sure to keep hydrated because temperatures in Tacloban, Bacolod, and Iloilo will reach around 33 degrees Celsius in those areas at the most. Of course, Metro Cebu will have around 32 degrees Celsius. Now, I know we say 32 degrees Celsius here in Bacolod, but then it could rise to around 33 degrees. Now, let's go on to Mindanao, particularly in Cagayan de Oro, Zamboanga, and Metro Davao. Generally, fair weather conditions are expected. Temperatures in Davao, in particular, will be quite hot because here you can have it go up all the way to 34 degrees Celsius, and that is going to be a tough time to handle. Make sure you stay hydrated and safe from the sun. Now, in Cagayan de Oro, it is 33 degrees Celsius, while Davao will still stay around 32 degrees Celsius, which is the coolest in the region, but still quite hot. Now, let's take a look at the weather for the next coming days. It's a 3-day weather forecast coming from Pag-asa. Marhay na aga Legazpi for the next 3 days. Good news for those who are still recovering from Typhoon Pepito. Generally, fair weather conditions are expected in the coming days. As you can see here, temperatures may reach up to 32 degrees Celsius throughout this time, particularly on Saturday. So make sure you hydrate yourselves throughout this time. Moving on to Tacloban, where warm and humid weather are expected over the coming days due to the easterlies. Now make sure to bring an umbrella to protect yourselves either from the heat or the possibility of thunderstorms in the afternoon or evening. Now temperatures may reach up to 33 degrees Celsius, particularly on Thursday and on Friday, and make sure you do watch out for that around noontime. That's when we expect the 33 degrees Celsius mark to hit. Now let's go on to Cagayan de Oro, where the same weather conditions are expected for the next 3 days. Temperatures here will reach up to 32 degrees Celsius, so wear comfortable clothing wherever you go. Bring your towels. Again, the umbrellas would help. And wherever you go, make sure you keep yourselves protected. As you take a look at all of the numbers here, a bit cooler over on Saturday, 31 degrees Celsius, the high there. When we return, we'll talk to the Society for Conservation of Philippine Wetlands Incorporated about the National Action Plan with regard to this. Stay tuned. You're watching Weather HQ. In the Philippines, we know the northeast monsoon as amihan. It's a special weather pattern that really influences our country, especially during the cooler months from October to March. The wind blows gently from the northeast towards the southwest, coming from high-pressure spots over mainland Asia, like China and Siberia. These winds then make their way to low-pressure areas over the Pacific Ocean. Now, when amihan arrives, it brings refreshing, cooler temperatures, especially to the northern and central parts of the Philippines. That's why December to February are often the coolest months of the year, making the weather really pleasant. Now, let's talk about the perks of amihan. For agriculture, the cooler and drier weather is a welcome change from the hot and rainy days. It helps our crops thrive, especially in regions that experience heavy rainfall during the wet season. As for tourism, the cool temperatures during amihan make it a fantastic time to explore popular spots. Baguio, Tagaytay, famous highland areas that are great for their inviting weather during the season. That's the reason why a lot of visitors come in from near and far to enjoy the weather there. Welcome back. You're still watching Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. President Marcos conducted an aerial inspection in Catanduanes to see the extent of damage brought about by Typhoon Pepito. The president, together with some of his cabinet members, saw the damaged houses and infrastructure, prompting him to donate 50 million pesos to the province. He also provided relief goods to typhoon victims.
Tinatawag na relief goods. Yan po, ito yung food pack, ito po yung sanitation na pack, yung medical kit, lahat po yan. Bukod pa riyan.
Meantime, House Speaker Martin Romualdez says the president will also conduct the Bagong Pilipinas Serbisyo Fair in 13 provinces in the first quarter of next year to also serve as a platform to address the needs of disaster-stricken communities. Moving on, the Society for the Conservation of Philippine Wetlands Incorporated is bent on ensuring the promotion and proper implementation of National Wetlands Action Plan. Joining us via Zoom is its Vice President and Executive Director, Amy Lesiones. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
No problem po. Let's start talking about the wetlands in the country. For those who are not aware, just how extensive are the wetlands here in the Philippines and gaano sila ka-importante sa ecosystem po natin?
Okay, for starters, I think we should define what wetlands are first so that everyone will understand what we're talking about. There are actually 3 types of wetlands according to the Ramsar Convention. The Ramsar Convention, incidentally, is the international treaty for the conservation and wise use of wetlands, of which the Philippines is a party or a signing country. So there are 3 types of wetlands. The first type is the inland wetlands. This includes the lakes, the rivers, streams, and we have also coastal and marine wetlands. And these are, of course, our seas, and we have human-made wetlands. These include dams, reservoirs, and other water storage facilities. So you can see there's really an encompassing definition for wetlands, and that makes the Philippines almost all wetlands. Why is it important? Okay, if you would like to know about numbers, it's very difficult to put an exact number on the number of wetlands. As in, like for example, yung coastal wetlands natin runs all over all the islands, so you cannot, count that. In terms of the inland wetlands, there had been an inventory done in 2016 by the Biodiversity Management Bureau, but it is not updated. It's from 2016 yet. And why are wetlands important? Because wetlands provide ecosystem services. These are the services that we get from nature. And these include provisioning. Provisioning services are those that we extract from wetlands, from nature, especially from wetlands. And these include fish, rice, all other things that we extract from wetlands, including medicine, timber, building materials.
Yeah.
We also have regulatory services, and this is, for example, wetlands are effective carbon sinks, so it helps in regulating climate. Then we have the recreation and education services. As you know, I think you know that most of our beaches are really places for recreation, and some wetlands, like for example, the Agusan Marsh is looked at as a place for recreation, not just for recreation, but also some wetlands are being looked at as places of places where what you call this, yung mga
Pang leisure time po.
These are wetlands na especially our IPs look at as some sacred places.
I
And
understand.
then,
Yeah.
and then lastly we have the supporting services. Supporting services are for example the water cycle. It maintains the water cycle, soil nutrient generation, and these are the factors that keep all the other services sustained.
Ma'am Amy,
That's why wetlands are important.
Ma'am Amy, there is a national wetland action plan, and of course, it'll be difficult to really go through each and every step of it. But could you summarize very quickly what the national action plan, wetland action plan is, and of course, the challenges of implementing it?
Well, at the outset, let me just tell you that the National Wetland Action Plan is really quite outdated. Even I indicated in the chat group earlier that although we use that as a guide in implementing wetland conservation and wise use activities, sadly, this has never been really endorsed
Yeah.
as an official document by the government. So I would like to make that as a colatilia so that you know that it is not an official document, although we have it in our website because it underwent through rigid consultations. And in fact, the use of that is, even if it is not officially endorsed, the stakeholders, particularly us as the society and even the Biodiversity Management Bureau, use that as a guide in implementing activities that would conserve and promote the wise use of wetlands.
Ma'am,
So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but then we just showed the social media accounts and how to reach your organization. But since we're running out of time, I also want to bring up the fact that you did mention that medyo outdated na po ang National Action Plan natin, and it is not an official document as well. In your opinion, is that the next step, one, to update yung action plan natin and get government agencies and more private individuals and groups to try and push for that action plan to conserve our wetlands po?
Well, actually, there is a national policy. We don't have yet an overarching national policy on wetlands. Okay, so there is a consolidated bill already filed in Congress, except it hasn't been marked as priority. But we will see in the next Congress if we can do that. Yeah.
Ms. Amy, thank you very much for joining us. And again, you can reach out to the Society for the Conservation of Philippine Wetlands Incorporated on these pages online. And we really appreciate your time po on educating us on more about the conservation of wetlands and why they are so important. And hopefully, the legislation does pass to make your lives a lot easier po. Maraming salamat, Ms. Executive Director and Vice President, Ms. Amy Lesiones. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Up next, a tree planting campaign is launched in Libya to help restore ecological balance amid climate change. Keep it here on BNC for that, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Back to this Weather HQ, let's take a look at the global weather. Amid increasing environmental issues, a Libyan environmental group has launched a tree planting campaign in Al Nigaza forest, 100 kilometers east of Tripoli. This initiative, the fifth effort to restore the region's ecological balance, comes as climate change, drought, and deforestation threatens Libya's green cover. Every year, activists plant trees to help preserve the environment. Families and children join these efforts, but lack of water poses a significant challenge. Trees provide oxygen and protect them from global warming, and this campaign encourages locals to act for a greener environment. The State Meteorological Office issued a yellow warning for England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. A video captured in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, vividly depicted a car that had crashed alongside a snow-covered road, highlighting the treacherous conditions. The severe weather prompted a yellow warning, leading nearly 200 schools to close their doors on Tuesday morning to ensure the safety of students and staff. In the days ahead, forecasts predict a significant drop in temperatures, with daytime highs plummeting well below the typical mid-November averages, and nighttime temperatures expected to fall to dangerously low levels, dipping beneath the freezing mark. Activists projected images with messages calling for environmental action from G20 members. During a peaceful protest, an environmental non-government organization displayed a large cardboard sign on Rio de Janeiro's seafront that read, "Tax billionaires, tax polluters, fix the climate," in conjunction with the G20 summit. They argued that it is unacceptable for the wealthy to accumulate riches and spread suffering globally, highlighting the issue of climate justice. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva emphasized that G20 leaders the need for international tax cooperation to tackle inequality, pushing for a global wealth tax on the ultra-rich. As G20 leaders met at Rio's Modern Art Museum, discussions reflected a shifting global landscape, with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump returning to power. And that's Weather HQ for today. Join me again tomorrow, whatever the weather, here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Have a great morning.